morning. Welcome to our program, Women to Women. I'm Carol Paz, your hostess, and as we always promise, we have another delightful guest, very interesting background that I'm going to introduce you to in just a few moments. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsors for Women to Women. Villa Basque Deli and Cafe right here in Carson City, home of Pete's famous Basque chorizo, and it is delicious. I'd also like to thank Carpin Nevada LLC, importer of fine Portuguese olive oils, aged balsamic vinegar, and international health teas. And finally, but not least, carsonnow.org, which is the 24/7 place to go. When you want to know what's happening in Carson City, it's carsonnow.org. And now let me introduce with pleasure MaryLou Pawley, who has a great background in so many areas, and we're going to share that. MaryLou, thank you so much for being with us.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Nice to be here.
Thank you. Sometimes, you have a guest where you don't know where to begin sometimes because there's so much to share. But I always establish for our viewing audience, as well as for myself, where you come from originally. Where were you born?
Los Angeles.
Okay, so you're a California girl.
Yes.
All right, all right. And when you were growing up, MaryLou, what are some of the interests that you remember yourself having? What were you involved with in terms of activities?
Well, I was always involved with music, played the piano, and I sang. And as I grew a little older, the singing became more the focus instead of the piano, much to my father's disappointment. He wanted me to be a pianist rather than a singer. But
okay, well, any way that we can make music and make other people happy with it, I think is an honor, distinction. So, being in the Los Angeles area brought you into contact. Probably, are you the only child?
No, I'm the oldest of 5 girls.
Your father had to marry 5 daughters. Wow. That's like 7 brides for 7 brothers.
Unfortunately, he died when I was 18, so he never got to meet any of his sons-in-law.
His sons-in-law. Well, you know what? He left a great legacy behind, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
And his daughters. So living in the Los Angeles area, after you graduated from high school, did you decide to go on with an education, or did you go into the workforce? What happened after high school?
I did. I first went to a Bible college in Phoenix, Arizona.
Okay.
And then I came home and worked for a little while, and then I went, the part of the Bible college moved to Oakland, and I went there for a year. And I didn't graduate. I never really wanted to graduate from I wanted to learn. Yes. And there were things that I felt that I needed to know.
All right.
I wanted to know more about the Bible. Since I was a tiny girl, I was involved in church because when I was very small, my mother and father had church in their home. It was the beginning Methodist church, and they were asked to be the caretakers of the property, and so I thought it was normal to have pews in your living room and the pulpit in the dining room, and the organ was in between the dining room and the living room.
And what a true statement that is, because as we grow up in our homes, as children, we kind of think that every other home is like our home.
Yes.
And it's a big shock sometimes when you go and stay, or you visit, or you have a meal with somebody else, or you're just in someone else's house, and it doesn't necessarily function like yours at all.
Right.
I mean, that's the beginning of the world coming in. So I have a question to ask. You have been involved, and I don't want to miss out on this, with the Disney Studios in California. How did that come about? How did you start in that fantastical world of Disney?
Well, we always thought that Disney was wonderful, and we used to take our kids there once a year, and never did I don't know why, but I never thought that adults worked there. Okay. I thought only kids worked there, because when you went, you saw kids,
yes,
on the rides. Well, then, as the kids grew up, they went to work at Disneyland. In the meantime, I was working with another company, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be wonderful to work there? But I just, my kids went to work there. I thought only kids there. And my boys said, "Mom, there are lots of things you can do here. This is like a city. You know, they have their own doctors, they have their own hospital, they have their own fire department. The police department is called security, plumbers. Everybody can work here." So that's when the idea came that, oh, maybe I could work there. It would be kind of fun.
And at what age was this when you actually became an employee of Disney?
I was at the end of my 40s.
Okay. Now, did you arrive on the scene when Walt Disney himself was there?
No. Walt had already died. He had been gone for quite a while. And so, you know, in the meantime, my kids were growing up. And the first thing that one of my sons was involved in was the 1976 parade anniversary of the United States, you know.
Okay.
And by that time, Robin was working there, our oldest, who is here in Carson City now, and Dale was working in the parades. I must have gone to Disneyland maybe 150 times that year. Because at that time, it was really easy for employees, even in costume, to get their families in.
Okay.
So I would just tell Robin, you know, he worked on Main Street, so it was easy for him to come and get me. And I'd say, I'm going to come, and he'd say, well, come at so-and-so time, and then I came in. And so, you know, that was fun. It's not that easy
anymore. No.
No.
When you began to work there, there are so many stories about Walt Disney and or his brother Roy that some of them are probably, maybe most of them are true, and maybe some of them are not true. Before the show, we were talking because I had read in the 1960s, shortly after Walt's death, that he had his body frozen, his body temperature, and you just debunked that myth for me.
Not true.
Not true.
No.
Because, where is he?
He's at Forest Lawn in the Hollywood Hills.
He's buried.
You know, yeah, he's buried.
So I wonder how, you know, sometimes we wonder, how did a myth like that get started?
Probably because Walt was such a special person that always involved in the new stuff that was going on. You know, he was always wanting his employees to find new things. You know, that's how audio animatronics got started. And he was probably one of the first to use audio animatronics, you know, and the movement of the hands of, you know, if you go and see the Lincoln story, the first time that my husband saw Lincoln, he leaned over to me and whispered, "He's lip syncing, isn't he?" And I said, "Honey, he's not real."
That's how specific, that's how detailed they had gotten.
Yes.
Now, we know that Walt came from the Midwest, but his origins, again, this was something that I had not realized before. There was a lot of French in him, and his name is actually a French name.
I think it's D''ISGNY. I think that's what it is. And I think his father came from Canada, but I'm not really sure about that.
Okay, and they grew up, both Walt and his brother Roy, in just the essentials. They did not come from money.
Right.
And Walt really had a hard time. He had these great dreams, and his brother Roy, who was the money manager, held the reins. There was, oftentimes you've related, you know, a real contest there as to who's going to win out, the dreamer or the manager.
Right. And Walt usually won. You know, it would turn out, you know, that you know, when Roy went to New York to get money, he didn't think he would get it, you know, but he did, you know, and so it worked out. And then Walt would decide, I really would like a building for these artists and workers to have a special place to work, you know, the sculptors and the guys that were working on audio animatronics. At Maple, which is the name of that building, there's a hand sitting there like this. When you go and visit, you see an artificial hand. You know, really interesting to be able to go there. And when Mary Poppins made a lot of money, he built that building, and they called it Maple.
Maple.
And Walt kind of always did that, you know.
He was unusual not only in his dreams, but also in his attachment to special effects, to special buildings that he wanted. And when it came to being boss, do you think that the people looked to Walt as the boss, or to both he and his brother Roy?
I'm not sure about Roy. I know that they knew who was boss. Walt was the boss, but they adored him. You know, they knew that he was a genius. You know, they knew that. And so I'm not sure whether Roy was looked on as a boss also. I know that Walt was. When Walt was alive, there were board decisions were not made. Walt made the final decision. Okay. And that's the reason that the things are the way they are, because he had this vision in his mind of what he wanted, and amazingly did it.
He got it.
Yeah.
He did it.
I saw a picture of him not too long ago standing in the middle of Disneyland when it was being built, and I thought, this is amazing. That single man thought all these things up. Of course, he had help, but he wanted a jungle. He wanted, you know, the rivers. They told him, you know, his brother said, you can't do that. You know, you don't have money to buy trees for the jungle. Well, Walt talked to his, the head of his horticulture department, at the studio that did the gardening. And this man was also a genius. He did something that no one else had ever done. They were building the freeway, the 5 freeway there by Disneyland at that time, and they were destroying the trees. And this man said, you know what? I'm going to try something. I don't know if it'll work. We'll dig the holes where the trees are going to go, and then we're going to go and pull those trees up with a crane and bring them over and put them in. And it worked.
It worked.
And it's done that way now, a lot. You know,
okay.
a lot of gardeners do that.
Well, you know, I could go on with this forever and ever. And eventually you came to work under Michael Eisner.
Yes.
When he took over.
Yes.
After a space of time, because Roy discovered that they needed to have someone in there who had a sense. But one of the most amazing stories that I have to share it quickly was that Michael so adored, so looked up in great respect to Walt Disney, and he wanted to actually be Walt Disney, yes. Okay? But he didn't come from poverty. He came from absolute wealth.
Yes.
And that was a barrier to him. That's kind of
yes.
funny. Okay, when we come back to the second half, MaryLou has brought something from California into Nevada that affects most of us. And we'll be right back to talk about that. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Stephen Lincoln with CarsonCityHomes.com, Carson City's original online real estate resource.
At CarsonCityHomes.com, you get effective and easy-to-use tools to help you select your next home today. With our easy-to-use website, you can search listings throughout Northern Nevada and narrow the results by selecting every facet, quirk, and quality you desire. Visit CarsonCityHomes.com.
We always knew that when we had another baby, we would love it if I could stay home. The kids shape what we do. Everything's about them. So we had to make a lot of changes. Quick Balance is this really nice feature of the Bank of the West app. The more I check into my balance, the easier it is for me to stay on track. You don't even have to log in. Hold on tight. You're on call, 24/7. Every minute that the app saves me is a minute that I can spend with my family. And that means everything to me.
Come into Villa Basque Deli and Cafe right here in Carson City, Nevada. Discover fine Portuguese extra virgin olive oils, vintage balsamic vinegars, and a wide assortment of international health teas provided by distributor Carpa Nevada LLC. In addition to these terrific items, Villa Basque is also the home of Pete's famous Basque chorizo, handmade on the premises from Pete's secret family recipe. Satisfy your culinary curiosities. Don't delay.
Come to the Carson Horseshoe Club for fun and friendly service. Play your favorite games. Join our Players Club, where you get cash for points plus food comps and enjoy casual dining in our Lucky Horse Grill. Get it all in the heart of downtown Carson City at the family-owned, local favorite Carson Horseshoe Club.
Apex SCF provides cutting-edge, hands-on training that effectively addresses today's threats of violence.
The Apex Stay Alive course teaches proven methods for personal protection and attack countermeasures that can be applied in any environment. In your home, at the workplace, or on campus, Apex will teach you the necessary skills to stay alive, including how to recognize and react to an active shooter scenario.
If you knew you had to fight for your life tomorrow, would you train today? Contact us now to sign up for a class in your region.
Welcome back to the second portion of Women to Women. We're here with MaryLou Pawley, and we're finally, I really had to drag myself away from her experiences at the Disney Studios, okay? But she's doing something wonderful here, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, let me thank our sponsors for the second half of our show. Dr. Kent Gabriel, plastic surgeon right here in Carson City, a noted plastic surgeon. His specialty is microsurgery of the hands. We'd also like to thank the Carson Horseshoe Club, located in the downtown historic district of our capital. If you're looking to have a wonderful breakfast or a lunch, why not stop in and see their newly renovated dining area? We'd also like to thank Bank of the West, which is one of the most friendly places for us to do our banking in, right here in Carson City. They are customer savvy. When you walk in, they know your name already. Okay, so MaryLou, again, thank you so much for being with us. And I have to, okay, we'll pick up the story, so to speak. When did you come into Nevada?
After my husband died. He died in September, and I came up here the following April because my son said, I don't want you that far away. And
wise choice.
And so I came up and
Carson City got you.
And Carson City got me. I love Carson City.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, MaryLou, you brought with you an idea that has only had, is it 2 years or 3 years experience here in Carson City?
I think it's 3 years now.
3 years now. And it is growing almost like wildfire. It's spreading. What is that idea? Is it from Fullerton?
Actually, Fullerton got it from someone else.
Okay, tell us what this is.
It's something that's been going on over the whole nation,
okay,
where churches decide that their mission isn't totally in the
church
in
itself?
the sanctuary.
Oh, okay, in the sanctuary.
You know, and a lot of people like me don't have the money, or they're too old, or for some reason they can't go to foreign countries to tell people about Jesus, and that's what we're about. He told us that. He told us to go into every country and every city and tell people about him.
Okay.
And so someone, I don't know who, had the idea of the church leaving the building.
Leaving the actual physical building on a
Sunday morning.
Okay.
Let's leave the building and go out into the community and do good works. And that is a dramatic way of making people say, what's happening?
What are you doing
Why
out here?
did you leave the building? And then we can say, well, we're out being the hands and the feet of Jesus and telling people about.
Now, does this have a special name over nationwide in the country?
Some people call it Grace Works.
All right.
Some people in Chico, they call it Love Chico. In Fullerton, they called it Grace Works when they first started, and they now call it Love Fullerton because they have incorporated other churches, and they go out into the whole community. We still call it Grace Works here in Carson City.
Okay.
And we started out with just our own church being involved, and then actually in the first year we were going to just be the only church, and another Hispanic church got involved, and I can't say the name of it, but it's I think it's the Church of the Door to the Way, I think in Spanish. I think that's what it's called. And mostly young people from the church came. And we went to the school district and said, do you have schools that need anything done? We told the congregation that if there were people, especially older people, who had things that needed to be done in their yard or in their house, we'll help. We went to community organizations that help other people and said, do you need us to do something for you? Do you need painting, anything, repair work? And because we have a lot of people in our church that can do a lot of different things. And so that's how it got started here. And
that was 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
And now the number of churches involved are how many?
9 churches. 9 churches are involved. And about 400 people were involved this year. And another kind of interesting thing is that someone from the Carson City swim team, I think it's called the Sharks, heard about it, and they asked if they could join us, and so for 2 years they've helped us out.
The Sharks, okay.
The Sharks, yeah, the kids, yeah, they're kids.
You know, I was noticing, the first year I decided to become a part, and we had our T-shirts. And I happened to be at the Dewdrop Inn, planting this and irrigating, building up the water system. And there probably were about 7 or 8 of us. And we were out, and it was hot. It was really hot. So we were having our bottles of water, and people in cars stopped and said, what are you people with all those bright yellow shirts doing? What are you doing? So we told them, and they said, really? Well, you know, I know people who need some help. So we said, okay, and we had that phone system, the walkie-talkie system. And in that first year, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, there was a home with an older couple or an older woman, a widow in it, and her whole bathroom system was in shambles. And there were men from the church who spent from something like 8 a.m. in the morning until 9 p.m. at night actually replumbing, rebuilding that bathroom for her so that she could, you know, it was available.
I can believe it. That's one of the things that we could do.
Yes. Yeah. And then last year, I remember, we had the red shirts. And again, I happened to be at the Children's Museum, and I was doing painting. Lots of kids, second year, even more people. And it was a mixture of the Hispanic community plus, you know, Carson City residents. And I thought, wow, where are all these people coming from? And the youth were in on it. So when we finished with the Children's Museum, everybody was saying, why are you wearing those shirts? And of course, Graceworks was on the back. So what's happened, and this year I was not able to be in it, but I understand that the magnitude of the number of churches, the number of people joining, has just been unbelievable. Yeah. And they cannot believe that churches would leave the sanctuary on a Sunday and go out with their work clothes on and do this. Yes. So it has helped. And I think there's a ministry going on of music. Are you a part of that?
Yes. No. You know, I've been sick for a while, and I wasn't able to participate this year. But yes, the music, people that can sing and play the guitars and things go to the convalescent homes and to the senior residences like Carson Plaza. Yes. And they have a little program for them.
They have a half hour or 45 minutes of just sheer music that they love it. Yeah. They're being serenaded. Yes. And it's all you know, it's calming music, it's relaxing music, and what a great gift. What a great gift that is. How did you get people initially interested? I mean, to get people to move out of a congregation, because there are going to be people coming expecting that service, and nobody's there, it's empty.
Right.
So how did you convince them to leave and go out?
Well, I just told them about what was happening down in Southern California, you know, and it's a huge church down there, so that, you know, they go out. I said they go, and the kids love it because they can go and wash the policemen's cars, you know, and the fire engines, and, you know, work in the parks. And I just put it forth as an idea in the mission committee.
Okay.
You know, I said, this is something that I think we could do. I said, down in LA, in Fullerton actually, we even made those fleece blankets, you know, so that in the wintertime there would be people that could use them.
Yes, yes.
They made, I don't know whether Fullerton did, but we made filled little bags with things like soap and toothpaste and toothbrushes and candy bars and bottles of water.
And those are in those great big Ziploc bags.
Yes. Something that maybe in an emergency, you know, you give to somebody.
And I've handed 4 or 5 of those out of my car to people that are on the street. And it's interesting what they look at it and they take the water bottle out first. They take the gum, they like that, and the candy bar or the energy bar. But you can see that they're appreciative.
Yes.
They're appreciative very much.
Well, it's not going to contribute to your whole life living, but it's a little thoughtful thing that somebody gave you, and it maybe is a little bit of cheering.
And it's an amazing sight to walk in and see over the year, from all the travels that people have done, all the soaps and the shampoos and the various things from the hotels and the restaurants, it's all there piled up waiting to be put in. And it's also interesting to see in a great big room how those individuals who can't go out physically and work are packing the bags, the Ziploc bags, are packing the boxes of food, packing the lunches, etc.
And that's the people that made the blankets down there were people that couldn't physically go out and dig or, you know, I like to go and help in the gardens at the schools, you know, I just think that's really fun.
Well, you have a green thumb for sure. We know that, okay, we know that. So, MaryLou, from your own personal perspective, what has this done for you as a person? We know that you were very close with your husband. You shared a long, solid marriage. And when you lost him, it was a huge moment. And it still is a huge moment in time. Still is, that's right. So what has GraceWorks meant to you personally?
Well, it's a way, not all of us are gifted in just meeting someone on the street and telling them about Jesus. But this is a way that we can be a missionary in our own community, and it gives us a chance when someone asks a question to say, why are you doing this? And we can tell them, it's because Jesus told us to do things like this. He told us to do. He told us to do good works. And it was a dramatic thing to leave the building because it causes people to say, why did you leave the building? You know, why is there no one there?
Okay.
Why are you not worshiping there? It's because we're worshiping out in the community.
Our community, giving back.
Yes.
What we have been given.
Yes.
I want to say thank you again for being with us. Okay,
Thank
you're a
you
delight.
for having me.
And thank you for sharing the background of the Disney challenge that you took on. Okay, that was great. So we'll be back next week. We hope you enjoyed it. It was an informative program. We'll have someone very special with us for next week. Stay well. Good night.
Hi, I'm Roy Halliday. As pet owners, we can help end the suffering of millions of dogs and cats. Animal shelters struggle to assist in huge numbers of animal litters. Many more suffer on the streets, never even reaching the safety of a shelter. My family does our part in making sure our pets are spayed and neutered. For more information, contact my friends at the Humane Society of the United States. Remember, pets are for life.
In business for over 5 years, Play Your Own Music offers music lessons from the best quality music instructors in the area. We also offer band instrument rentals, guitar repair, and we have a recording studio on site. Call us at 885-PLAY.